Good afternoon, beloved community. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am Melissa Miller, host of The Chosen Heroes. We have a very special guest. Enzo Gencarelli is here to talk to us today. Let's kick off with the week in review and for news for targeted justice.
It's that time again for the Targeted Justice newsletter, the video edition. May 25th, 2025. First, keep this in mind: you have no obligation to cooperate with police. This is not an anti-police attitude. It's a pro-civil rights attitude. Private property in the U.S. is sacred. The whole reason for having a warrant, or what's known as a fee warrant, is that police must have the authority to enter a home in order to arrest someone. You are under no obligation to surrender that privacy if a warrant isn't presented. You have no obligation to answer the door. As a targeted individual, don't answer the door unless you know the person and you trust them. Don't answer the door unless you know who it is and you trust them. If you don't know them, why are you opening the door? Have a camera and cell phone ready and recording. Leave your chain lock on the door. Unless you hear the words, "We have a warrant." Don't open the door. Have your camera and start video recording. If police say this is for a wellness check, this is just an excuse to set up a targeted law-abiding citizen. Don't fall for it. They are trying to take you to a psyche facility. Don't answer the door. If you are arrested, do not resist. Only state that you want an attorney. Don't say anything else. Keep your camera ready. "I only answer questions with my attorney present" is a perfect response. Never chit-chat with the police. Do not explain anything about the targeting program. Save it for the judge. Opinions of targeted justice. This is not legal advice. Consult an attorney for legal advice. Can a sound recorder detect a microwave frequency? No. When a satellite fires a weapon from space, there is no sound in space. There is no sound transmitted from the satellite. There are essentially no molecules in space to carry the sound vibration. If someone claims to analyze or record microwave signals using an acoustic recorder, they might be lying to you. The Nyquist-Shannon sampling theorem is a principle for digital signal processing. To avoid distortion, the theorem states that the sample rate must be at least twice the bandwidth. A digital acoustic recorder does not have the bandwidth to capture the original microwave signal. For example, if a person is being hit with a DEW attack at 4,000 MHz, such as a Vercator, the sample rate must be greater than 8,000 MHz to mathematically reconstruct the original signal. This is a mathematical principle that applies to every vibration and every signal. Also, federal courts and judges generally do not allow expert testimony from someone unless they have an MD or a PhD. If someone is truly an expert, they will have a university degree to back it up. A targeted, law-abiding citizen by the name of Dee has been severely burned 5 times over the past few years. She lives in the United States. One of the days with bad burns. They routinely go after her lips with the microwave weapon. In Dee's words, "My parents and I all received the same targeting. My father passed in 2020, so he is no longer abused. There is one extremely high-pitched sound that my mother and I can hear, and this high-pitched sound can be felt. I normally get really hot inside my body and my mom gets the chills. The louder the sound is, makes the burn come on more quickly. An example is 5 minutes or less. Sometimes it's at a lower loudness and is done over a period of 20 minutes. We can be completely blistered with face burns. Calling all digital warriors. Please share, repost, copy and paste this video and the text of this newsletter onto Twitter, Facebook, Truth Social, TikTok, etc. They will block it if you just post the link. We are still looking for volunteers. Let us know how you can help. What skill sets do you have? Write to tjustice2@proton.me. Put volunteer in the subject line. You can watch targeted justice videos on Rumble by going to the following link, https://rumble.com/user/real-targeted-justice/channels. Please consider donating. Targeted Justice is nonprofit. The donations are tax deductible. Go to either https://pay.cornerstone.cc/targetedjustice or https://www.patreon.com/targetedjustice. You can also send a check to Targeted Justice, P.O. Box 15990, Houston, Texas 77220. Buy some cool gifts and t-shirts from Targeted Justice store by going to https://targeted-justice.printify.me/products or https://www.bonfire.com/store/targeted-justice-products. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. God bless.
Yes, and I also wanted to mention a couple other things that have come up this week that are very favorable for our community. One being that Senator Rand Paul did mention that he felt that civilians are being put on the threat screening database. That's a huge recognition for all of us. One step right into the direction. There's been discussions on how Tulsi Gabbard had been put on the Quiet Skies program, and another that just happened. A lot is still coming out about it. Is that the former administration is deeming those that are non-vaxxers and or had spoke out or had strong opinion about the COVID vaccine that and label them as domestic extreme terrorists, and they are watch listed as well. So they are, a part of just what we have been under for quite some time, and under different reasons. We might be like a double watch listed if you didn't take the vaccine or if you've spoken out simply against the vaccine. So again, just look at all of this as, the roots that God is pulling up on this corruption. We have to be patient and trust in him. These are the times that this level of corruption and manipulation and harm, physical, bio, our biosphere, our aura, and however you want to call it, our biofield, and how we have been infiltrated with these weapons and being experimented on and tortured for truth speaking, and the laundry list of what it is that got us on the list originally and being classified as a potential terrorist, knowing that there's so many law-abiding citizens that are on this list, and we just have to be patient and trust that God is moving these heavy mountains. And let's just go. I feel led to go into prayer. I know that there's so many of us that are under attack, and I feel really strongly. God revealed to me this morning that those that delight in the wickedness, he knows who they are, and he knows every detail. And he's the all-seeing, all-knowing, and that he is present with us. And God will be the peace that calms the storm, the light that exposes this corruption and torture that's being done. And he will uproot and unearth it and all the atrocities that violate the innocent, the truth speakers. He will infiltrate the databases that house our torture and what has been done to us. Knowing that the divine intervention, that supernatural awe and all that is God, can infiltrate any system, any man-made system. There is no system above God. And for those who have proclaimed sense of power and control and abuse over others, they need to, be reminded that they are simply just flesh, and God can infiltrate their lives as well, as a result of what they have done against others. And God can infiltrate the signals and the frequencies. And he could be that virus that dismantles and reveals all being done. He will expose the handlers and all the participants in these evil crimes against humanity. And God, may your presence invade the lives of those that harm, and to penetrate their hearts, to come forward in retribution of what they have participated in against the innocent, else your wrath is upon them. You are the justice that will reign. You will stand in awe. We will all stand in awe of your presence and wonder, and trust and wait for the revealing to unfold in only the way that divine perfection of intervention and justice can. And God, we ask that you come and heal our wounded souls and our bodies. Let your light release the trauma from this targeted experience. And may you forever protect over us and our families and our pets and our loved ones. And glory be to you, God. Amen. I'm going to bring up a couple of advertisements. I can't speak enough of how much I appreciate the Silent Night. So I urge those that are under attack with a voice to skull. This is, like a biofield that'll go out. I use it every night when I go to bed. So if you're interested, I urge you to reach out to targetedsourcellc.com. Armando is just wonderful. He built these devices to protect his family. His wife was under attack and his small child, and he also became attacked. So I can't say enough about the creations that Armando has made for this community. I urge people to plug in with our community through tievents.org. Everything that you need to know that's happening TI event related is there. Tranquility does a wonderful job every night of the week. If you're under heavy attack and you just need some comfort in knowing that others are out there that relate and hear you and know that the truth that you speak is exactly that truth, plug in to an event with the community. Upcoming guests next week, June 1st, will be Major Jeffrey Prather. He's a former operations DIA intelligence collector and a DEA special agent who is a whistleblower. Tune in to hear his story. On June 8th, Dawn Sullivan will reveal some analysis of the technology within blood that she has discovered and some ways to combat the graphene and the nanotechnology in the blood. And then on June 15th will be Minister Julia Thompson, who is also a targeted individual, and she will share some fellowship and worship and a healing message for the community. On June 7th, there will be another bi-weekly working session with Jamie Rice, who is the author of the Targeted Individual Combat Training Plan, and I am the co-host on that call. And the next one on June 7th is noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific time. If you're interested in joining up, send me an email. The web link for the free conference call link is on the screen. And I'm always looking for anyone who's musicians that would like to be featured on the Chosen Heroes, and anyone interested in doing technical support or some digital content creation and research would be greatly appreciated. And all of the links on the screen above is ways that you can follow the Chosen Heroes. I would appreciate, a like, subscribe, and a follow, and to share out to others that are targeted individuals so that they can start receiving the information that is shared. So before I bring our guest on, I'm going to read something that I found on Enzo Gencarelli's LinkedIn page. I'm going to bring up a screen for him. So he is a retired administrative captain for the sheriff's office, and he has over 20 years of dedicated service. And he began receiving the symptoms of being targeted after reporting big drones in New Jersey. And on Enzo's LinkedIn page, I urge that you check it out. He has lots and lots of videos of what he'll be discussing with us today, available on his LinkedIn. So he did a call to action that he posted on LinkedIn, stating, as a nation, we must confront the reality of invisible weapons and the silent threat they pose. Police agencies across the country need robust measures to detect and defend against these emerging technologies. These weapons represent the new frontier of warfare, not just militarily, but domestically. And in the summer of 2022, Enzo first encountered what he refers to as the big drones. And at that time, the Mount Olive Police Department and his former employer, the Passaic County Sheriff's Office, dismissed his claims. And these drones were massive and capable of being mistaken for planes with remarkable precision. And technically, they could disable and destroy electronics that accurately target individuals and more. What he observed back then was primitive compared to the advanced capabilities today. And he states that this shadowy criminal network has remained undetected for far too long, and the days are numbered. The network's reach extends from everyday individuals acting as operatives to the masterminds at the top. The foot soldiers, ordinary people, are armed with invisible weapons and operate at startling coordination. And at the top are cybersecurity experts, bioengineers, and others with sophisticated knowledge and resources, all driven by a more profitable and sinister agenda. And he states in his call to action, consider this: a judge could be sitting on the bench unaware that for hours, days, or even months, a drone hovers 500 feet above its infrared laser, precisely aimed at their head. This level of surveillance and targeting is happening and going unnoticed. And the relentless nature of this operation is staggering. The use of encrypted communication, possibly through dark web, they remain undetected. So without further ado, let's bring Enzo to the stage.
Hello.
Hi, Enzo. Thank you
Hello.
so much for your bravery and sharing your story with us today. So,
it was my pleasure.
So, can you tell me about when it began, from your own words, and when you realized that you were being targeted?
I realized that during July of 2022. Although looking back at videos that happened much sooner, it took me a little while to realize it, because I had some open cases. I had a civil suit and a workers' compensation case, and I figured they were private investigators, but it went from 1, 2 to 50 to 100 to currently thousands of vehicles. I'm in New Jersey, and there are thousands and thousands of people involved in the following: the gang stalkers, I call them the cowards. Um, it's enormous. The more I expose them, the more I just see how big it is. It's all over, and the numbers, whatever people estimate, is much higher. I'd say 95% of the people won't even know that they're ever targeted, just whether test dummies or hit with pulses through your cell phone. It's amazing how they can track you down. There's really no place to hide stuff. So, I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I just decided to, put everything into it. There's no like afraid of death or something at this point. Just exposing this huge criminal bunch of cowards.
Do you think that you had mentioned a civil suit and a workers' comp claim?
Yes, and it's not that.
Do you think that could have anything to do with your targeting?
No, I think what happened is I moved right into the middle of their headquarters in New Jersey. And by that, I mean, when I bought this house, there were multiple offers. I went to the listing agent. It was a cash offer. I believe someone else was supposed to have purchased this property because I think it has value to them because of the power lines that are seem very popular as lift off and take off areas. That's why when there was thousands around the United States, and they're not coming from some ship, they're coming from here in the United States, and it seems like they congregate, I guess, their headquarters in groups in areas where there's just maybe a bunch in that area. They all look out, and they're able to take off, whether it's this area, it's high elevation, it's suburbs, it's close to the city and stuff. It started with like hearing, like seeing those drones and then hearing noises. And it was funny because like nobody else could hear those noises, but I could hear them. I remember like some of my reports said I was cutting the grass and it felt like I was getting hit with these like I was running into brick walls, like everywhere I turned, left, right, front, back. And it progressed from there. Then I started noticing these little marks on my car, and they were distinct, and they had burnt through the top of all my vehicles that I drove, and they seemed like little heart-shaped marks. I knew there was something more to it. So the person that owned this house before me, he had passed away. He was a lieutenant. There was no question that he was murdered. I fully believe it. So he had passed away. His mother was diagnosed with dementia. Through an obituary, I found this officer's fiance, and I called her, and we were talking, and I asked if there was anything going on that maybe her late husband, told her about the neighbors or anything. And he said, no, he didn't mention nothing. And when I told her what was happening with me, she basically started crying. She's like, and she's still around. She's the fiance. She's like, oh my God, Rob, which was her husband, Rob would say that his mother would complain of the same things, that she'd hear these noises nobody else would hear, even driving, and that the neighbors were following her. I call them the cowards. But so now, years later, the same thing's happening to me, and it's identical to what this lady with this fiance was saying. This happened to her mother. So this poor lady, 80 something years old, cowards followed her around and did the same thing. They're not humans. They're just cowards. So
their evil knows no bounds. The moral compass is missing in these people.
Yes. It's this area. This is like their headquarters. The concentration is amazing. I cannot leave anywhere, whether it's midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, without having a ton. And they're running scared, meaning that some of the things that I've uncovered with the gang stalkers, they have a purpose. And when I go on Facebook and I'll see some of their videos, I'm like, you could tell. I call it the spiderweb, which is I guess we'll get into that. But
Yes, and I have an image too that I could bring up because you had sent um, a video, right, of
Yeah, I have tons. There's like probably 4 or 5 thousand videos. Now that right there, if you'll swear that's a spider web, and it's all over. It's that right there is on every single street in the United States. It is covered, and there's little particles that are attached to that stuff, and you'll see it Google Earth or like the Google Street View, as you know, it's a camera, so it captures what it sees, and that stuff, like if you see power lines where there's splits in the power lines,
mhm.
99% it's because these things just lay over the top or in over sidewalks. That's why you see like an offset or a split. But I ended up buying a microscope because the second you mention this stuff, no labs want to test it. They may know, kind of what's going on and stuff. Uh,
Mhm.
but like I would watch my ring cam and I show like my friends and they're like, you have the fastest flies in the world. Just from years of being targeted and looking at this stuff, it was just reflections of that. And I looked up, they call it magic wire. It's electrical wire. And there's one video I found online where it's like you can't see it, but it's powering a light, and you can power a lot more. What happens is those gang stalkers are equipped with somehow you can't see it. If it's a foot or 2 feet in front of you, you can't see it. You have to like kind of get a glare, or if it's over a car, you'll think it's a spider web or whatnot. But I started like noticing that I'd be driving by these cars and you hear like a click or a tick, or like my car had this stuff. It was maybe it's like 10 feet long, and I'm parked in front of the garage and there's nothing around. So I started paying attention, and it's this right here. You can see it on trees because at night it looks like a strand of Christmas lights. I believe it's the biggest discovery ever, and it's all over. I mean, whether
Do you think that these wires are about kind of putting up parameters and any relation to maybe with the Google maps or anything, or just is it just
it's
about
all
parameters?
I think it's so big that I think this stuff is 90% of health problems in the United States. Like I was never a conspiracy theorist or anything, but it's very easy. Someone just has to turn around and go in their car or take a piece of tape and start sticking around and take it and look for themselves. And it's designed to direct energy now. It
Mm.
doesn't mean that because you
So
have it
almost
out.
like a receptor of
Yes.
so
But I
you
believe
can
even
be.
like the particles, I think there's so many of them that I think everybody has these particles, and then from there, I think they could target who they want. Like I had a lot of the videos analyzed by Amy Holm, and I think I had like 15 videos so far since 2022, and they all proved that it stated that I was targeted, and they're talking about red rooms and different I was complaining before I even reached out to Amy. I was complaining about my ankle swollen and carpal tunnel. And then a month later, I'm getting these videos analyzed, and she says it seems like these ankle bombs or wrist attacks are really common. Like that's how big this stuff is. And I'm exposing them. So now I get hit 24/7, all to the heart. I honestly don't know how anyone could have survived. I mean, from all different directions. I ground myself, but
Mhm.
the biggest, like, they also, they want to destroy families. Obviously, they want to turn around and make the person seem like he has a mental illness, which isn't going to work with me. And I'll just keep fighting and bringing evidence, and there's a ton. And I have 4,000, 5,000. There's so many things that if I had the money and I got them all analyzed, you'd probably be able to find Jimmy Hoffa's body. That's how much stuff, and they know it. and that's why they're
Do
really
you think that this wiring is something similar to what we have heard about DARPA dust and having
yes,
those particles
it's all
all
tied in.
tied together?
It's all tied together. You know, the second I walk outside, the second I walk outside, if I get a package and I dry my shirt, I come back inside, and you'll see just these white little particles, tiny little particles, and wires. And sometimes you can't even see it, but you can feel it around your hair. And then when they start hitting you with the energy, it kind of like shrivels up. Because I have like on
Yeah,
the
because you said that there was like a loop at one end, right?
well,
And then it
that's
fries
those.
out.
That was at the end. It seems like at the tip of this, there's a particle, and then you have this long wire. So,
And then it was burnt, like it
yeah.
shorted
So
out
the
or
actual
something.
particle that I have, you know, I posted this link with all like, and a lot of it, I haven't even gotten a chance to go through it, but I know when you're targeted, everything is you're targeted like 20, or at least I am targeted 24/7. And I
Right.
always believe that, you know, every single picture or video there's evidence in it. You know, I don't care if you're the best investigator, you're going to miss something, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
I never missed anything. I'm sure I did, but, you know, I found myself going back to, you know, to the same videos to learn, you know, to just to because it's something new, and I'm like, oh, here it is also. But it seems like there's a particle that fires, and then this is attached. And in the particle, the tip, it's all the same. They all have. I really can't see. I don't have the best of microscopes, but I had this one lab look at it, and they don't do this kind of stuff. My sister-in-law worked at, and she said, she said, you know, it was some sort of like crystal. It was, they just knew it
Crystal
was
structures, right? Some
yeah.
crystal.
So when I looked at it, and there's a link on LinkedIn that has just a ton of Google stuff, my pictures and videos, probably
Mhm.
5,000. And there's a lot of it. They're just like little strands of crystals, but inside there's some wires also, which I'm sure they have to lead to something. I'm thinking maybe a chip, but they also had a loop. So when I would watch on my microscope, and again, 24/7, so everybody knows what I'm doing and stuff, they're hitting it right there, and it would burn and it would stick up to the lens of the microscope.
Mhm.
But you know, it's when you mention gang stalkers, you know, if anybody there's a ton of evidence. Police have the dash cams. If they went back and reviewed, they could see, not easy, but they could see, you know, the reflections. They could see a lot of stuff. But I mean, police are not going to do nothing. I mean, you know, unfortunately, you know, there's quite a bit that are involved, and other ones just don't have the experience with this type of stuff. But what they should
So
do is
did
take
did
it
you
serious.
you said that you had tried to tell your co workers at the sheriff's office about this and the police, and their reaction was that there was nothing to the
Yeah,
drone
you know
plane
what?
or.
In 2022, when it first started happening, nobody really heard of these big drones. And then also, like, if you're being followed, you're kind of crazy and stuff. Or
Mhm.
like, as if it happened now, I'd have better proof where I'm retired now. Um, I thought word would get around a lot quicker once those big drone sightings happened. All those drone sightings happened and stuff. But even then, um, you go to Facebook groups and you see how many people are involved. There's people that were adamant that those were not drones, and it was apparent that they were. And you know, the people are just, you know, there's a lot of people involved, and they'll go on there and they'll say, no, you know, the totally, you know, they weren't drones, they were planes, and they were clearly drones. And I have a close up which I got off one of my cameras. It was like a 60 power zoom, because in 2022, I'm telling you, that's a drone. You can see the white lines, like the jet, you know, like the jet
Mhm.
streams stuff.
Mhm.
Tell somebody that in 2022, they thought you were crazy. You tell them now, they'll probably believe you because
Oh,
it looks
now, yeah, now
crazy. But
there's been high activity reported in New
yes,
Jersey and Pennsylvania.
I just had like another. I mean, you know, they're by me all the time, even when like they stop. But like, you know, there's no purpose at this point to go out and start taking videos of these things. You know, I mean, even like in my page, you know, they're everywhere I drive, you'll see it. And it's funny, it's not funny, but it seems like they have to, like the way it's all about linking. They have to link to something. They link to your cell phone. They link to all the appliances in the house. If I shut off the power and stuff like that, the links break. So, I mean, there's no cameras and stuff, but, and then
It's like they're building a circuit channel, like a perimeter
yes,
around
yes.
you with use of electronics and either
Yes, and
Bluetooth
whether it's to
or
like get into all your personal stuff or link
yeah.
to something, because then what they could do is they can get to you, because if they link to everything and then you have people around you and they have something to link to, you're going to find yourself in the middle, or they'll move so that you're in the middle. But it
Mm-hmm.
seems like if you cover your head, like I don't know if your brain activates something, but I feel like you cover your head with something. Like I had put a steel pot over my head, and it just builds up more and more force where it's going to end up almost crushing your head. It's insane.
It's insane pressure. Yes, it is. I do have where you, let's show a couple of images. Can you, let me remove the video, and then I'm going to bring this one up. So can you talk about this? This is from directed energy.
This was early on, and when I say early on, I mean like now, 2024, because in 2022, I wasn't really protecting myself because it was like acoustics. But now, I'd go to sleep, I put that over like my chest, and it'll just keep hitting. But like, no matter how you cover yourself, like I go to sleep and I lifted my bed, and I made this little canopy, and you hear like just kind of, there's different attacks. So like if my phone was open and available, they can get to it. Where if it's covered, it was like pulses, because they can't connect, so they try to connect. So it was like, and this is just through like being hit hundreds of thousands of times by now. So if I had a cell phone and I just left it there, there were streams of direct energy. If it was covered in something like aluminum box, it would try to get to it. So it'd get like pulse. But so I had my cell phone with me, and it would make its way through the aluminum. And there was aluminum that had like foil with little holes, but it was like the size of like a dime, like little areas the size of a dime, like 3-4 holes. Now, they weren't trying to get to the cell phone, though. They were trying to get to me. But I think they needed that cell phone as like something
to connect to you.
Yeah. And there's always drones. Like, you're like, well, even during the day they're there. They don't see them. They're also, and this is something that it's like kind of hard to prove, but like I take like a little laser, right? And if I get hit in the front, there's somebody behind me, like it's connecting to something. So it's going through me. And if I take a little like red handheld thermometer laser, I could kind of like break the link, and I could follow it over my head through the other side, through the other side. And now there's just, they built up such a force of these things that, could they kill me? Very easily. I believe they could. Maybe it's because I name dropped, with some pretty decent evidence that, maybe it's that, maybe they just don't want to. They just rather like would torture me and stuff, which I don't know. I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I mean, because you found that because you had, I've read through some of your information on LinkedIn. You said that you had named 5 individuals, and that action alone could have literally saved your life, right?
Yes, I believe so, because I believe so. I named them, early on and stuff, and I kept naming because I was that sure, and I'm just as sure now as then. That I had aluminum. This was an aluminum box. By now it's like shredded. I just stopped, but I would have like these things around me, and then I realized that they're going to get to you anyway, and it's just those force kind of made it worse. So you just kind of like let them go through you. But now what they do now is they're able to like they get to my heart, and it's like they're able to. I don't know how they do this. The talents that I'd be there, but they'll just keep hitting it. And or like if I have a can in front of me, you'll just hear like a tick, 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 and it's kind of like built up inside you, just like in the couch. They can be like behind the couch, and you just the technology is like insane. They just kind of like it slowly kind of like builds up, where like they want to like kind of keep you at the edge. And I still think they're cowards regardless of what they
Well, yeah, anyone that's doing this kind of torture to another human
but
being.
they've destroyed this. I used to keep my cell phone, this
But
aluminum.
this was an aluminum box that you used to keep your cell phone in, and these
Yeah, when I
cuts and
drive,
everything
I
that
was
in the hole.
driving, and it's insane too.
Yeah.
You'd hear these things hit this thing, just like now. Like I drive, if somebody's with me and stuff, it's like, just because of the force, hitting the car, it's like the shocks are bad. But someone else driving it, it's not the case. It's just,
I've heard really loud popping sounds on my car while I'm driving, like it's a connection.
It is, and you'll hear like if it breaks a connection, like if you're going even underneath underneath wires and stuff like that, you'll hear like the different ticks. But with those gang stalkers, as they drive by, they're connecting to something. So what I'll do is I'll take a mirror. I start taking a mirror, put my phone like this, and I'll hold it to like video and stuff. And you'll see like the cars, they'll try to like as they're coming the other way, they'll slow down, wondering why like it's not connecting, as they keep firing. And then once they do connect, you'll see them the way they'll drive. Like if your cell phone's on the right hand side and they're trying to get to like your heart, they'll just they know exactly kind of where to drive to kind of intercept you and stuff like that. And I believe Google Earth shows a lot of this stuff.
Yes, you found some patterns with trees.
You go to any single street and you could see you'll see like tunnels through like trees or if you use the 3D version and stuff.
Let me bring up the one. There we go.
That's at the White House.
Oh, that was at the White House.
Just to show, and I'm 100% sure, if somebody actually went out there and just took some samples, I'm positive. And you see, not only is it brown from the heat, but, by looking at it, you may think, oh, okay, it's just shadows. But I am 100% sure those little dots are reflections of the wire. It also has little particles on it. It looks like strands of Christmas lights. It is all over. I'm positive. Look, call me stupid, prove me wrong. I tell them, go out and just take a sample. Take a microscope.
And then you've seen patterns from Google Earth of the purple haze on the trees.
And they're hooked up to transformers. You'll see like a couple of dots by the transformers. I'm sorry if I interrupt. I just talk a lot.
No. And then you also saw that if probably those that are targeted, like the roofs of their homes.
Well, the front of the house, like the front will look purplish, but the first thing is by looking at like Google Earth, and you'll turn around and you'll start seeing, really like darker areas. And then as you're getting closer, you could see like valleys cut through the top, which is all the wires sitting over the top. And you'll see the valleys cut through. And when you do a 3D, you can even see tunnels to their house. It's amazing how much information on Google Earth. You'll see the targeted homes. The front of their homes are like purplish. It seems like a solar ray is just dead center over the top. And many times you can even notice a lot of times who are involved. If you follow that tunnel, you follow that stuff, it is so huge that, that needs to get out. Because I started looking at different areas. Also, Google Earth, find any area with power lines. You find some newer developments, you're going to see, and I know these play a part because I've seen hooked up, and people are, it's easy to turn around and dismiss the notion, but it's just like, 2022, I see these drones head towards the sun. It sounds crazy. No, it's actually a brilliant idea because if you're in line with the sun, they can't see it. You can't snap a picture of it. Well, I noticed all these newer developments close to power lines, they have these huge basketball hoops built into the ground, huge. And if you look closer, you're going to see a strand of lights, to that. Now, look, did the people do it, or are these drones that sophisticated, and they're just kind of, or they, because like the videos I had analyzed, it said you hear like single up, single up. So I don't know. Are they using the power lines and then these basketball hoops to get their own signal? Which is why I think the FFA or the military or the FBI were saying, "Oh, we don't know. They're not setting off a signal and stuff." They are obviously. They're not coming for some shit. They're probably just, they create their own signal and they're just dispersing it through power lines. But I know the basketball hoops play a part. And
So it could be that these drones are dropping these particles and
all over, I believe so.
All over, and then that helps create the proxy,
Yes,
the stalking and connection to someone to then go in. Who's to say that these particles aren't being sprayed over targeted roofs and around their place of their dwelling, right?
Yes.
Just to make that connection in. I think a big connection is also how we have a unique brain frequency where they can target into us quite easily. Now that it could be brain frequency, it could be that it could be an implant. There's so many things because this stuff is not new and it's just been ever evolving. It's been
Same
around.
thing with your heart. It's like how they can like get to my heart and stuff. And I seen some articles where like years ago the military was working on technology where they could track somebody down, and I believe there was they were able to track somebody down in another country. It's like some mission they had based on his heartbeat and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, no matter just being targeted since 2012, no matter where I go, if it's out of state or wherever. I don't experience any relief from the targeting.
Yeah.
It is 24/7, all the time, and so we just have to use our countermeasures to our best ability to protect ourselves, and knowing that this is here until it gets full exposure. I think that this is the time for full exposure. I think it's we're chipping at chipping out an iceberg, right? That's been around. There's a lot of, monetary gain and investment into what these programs are. It came to me today that, and this is just one perspective to look at it, is that we're assets and the handlers are really liabilities.
Yep.
They're collateral damage if things go south, right? And when they thought they were being cool by signing up and doing these things to people, they didn't realize at that very moment upon agreement that they became a liability to these, because if the ship is going down, there's going to be fall people, right? So
yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And that ship's going down.
But because I know that there's such an investment, and I look at it like we truly are assets, because our bodies are being violated. They are monitoring and analyzing and doing analytics based off of how we react to the plethora of torture techniques, whether it be psychological, whether it be physical, and separating out how, as a targeted individual, we respond to these specific tactics. And there's got to be a database of analytics out there based off of age and occupation and a plethora of things, and doing measurements on us and how we respond to it. And then, of course, we know that the cowards, as you call them, the gang stalkers, they have incentive. So when the handlers of doing this harassment to us, succeed in somebody self-suiciding themselves and having victory parties, there's been testimonies from gang stalkers that came forward and said that they would throw big parties when that happens. And this is just the deep layers of evil that all are intertwined with all that are part of the street theater, the gang stalking, and for whatever reason, they decided they wanted to make that choice. And unfortunately, this to me is kind of how I take that knowledge, knowing that, we are of more value than the handlers and the street theater and the gang stalkers, because we're the asset. We're the
Sure.
ones that are being data collected on.
Yeah.
We're the ones that have been watch listed, farmed out to God only knows what research facilities, and it's just a big evil empire of sick. So just think about that. This is why I cannot give my power over to such evil and corruption, and that's my fuel to keep moving forward and to proclaim and make a difference by trying to reach more people that these programs exist, and beating so loudly and being that squeaky wheel that
I
those in
agree, and
power.
I'll be helping you. And I'm getting some better equipment, but I don't give in either. Where people would be afraid. Most of my hits now are laser hits. And talking to Amy, she says you can deflect them with a mirror, but if you keep the mirror straight, they'll go through. So if it deflects it, just so like I was posting on LinkedIn, you know, I had the Ring camera on and I'm like bouncing these these hits, and you can hear them like through the trees, or like a screeching sound. And so I posted that, and like 3 days later the hits are getting obviously harder. I caught in the Ring camera, which I think I posted it. I hit one back up. You could see this bird fly up on the Ring cam, went up on the roof, and then I'm hitting it back, and it just tumbled to the floor. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Wow.
it's the same. But what I do now is I'll take a cell phone.
Got caught in the signal.
Yeah, I'll take a cell phone, my cell phone, because I know they're hitting at that, and I have these aluminum plates. I'll put it in the middle. I'll set up an angle so like one's shooting at that person, they're shooting back at each other, because I think it's like automatic. I've seen like these lasers on the ground, and in the second I'll take pictures, they move them. But it's like I said, I just there's no question. I'm like dead center, and the houses are like, you got these gorgeous homes, and they're making money somehow. Like some of the videos I had analyzed, they were saying, I'm like a 3D virtual reality game. So maybe there's just so many of those particles where they can just see the heat structure, and people will pay to turn around and zap you or whatnot. But there's obviously satellites involved in the sophistication, and I'm just gonna just keep
God,
doing it.
it's just high tech,
Yeah,
and
and I love exposing them also. To me, it's just, I love it. I just exposed, and I knew it and stuff, but now I had some pretty good video. And the last guy that lived here was a lieutenant and stuff. And I don't have really any pictures of him, but the few pictures that I had, I was able to make out. I'm almost positive. It's that same electrical wire. You'll see like strands, you'll see like little reflections where they really shouldn't be, like kind of nowhere. And just a few months before, these two guys moved in, and the one guy in the video, they call him Heart Attack Joe. In the video I analyzed, well, this guy is Joe, and he has some insane lasers. So I exposed him, because I'm on LinkedIn, there's like 1,000 plus law enforcement officers that are part of the community and stuff. And you know what? Sooner or later, it's going to get through. There's so many crimes that are committed that, are unexplained or whatnot. And just the fact that you can analyze some of these videos and hear these cowards' communications, like they were hitting my dog bone. And the one video I had to analyze, and you could hear, like she could hear my dog barking in the background. So there they are, like they're attacking dogs. They're just, SHI, what bags. And I just,
yeah. I mean, there's just they have no respect for life.
No, not at all, not at all. So,
and really, it's a reflection of how they feel about themselves. But
they're just
So they want to just act out and do harm to others. I know in one video I saw on your LinkedIn that I also wanted to bring up this one that I've loaded. This is the holes in the tinfoil. You can see the holes from the hits.
That was over the course of maybe like a half hour, just sitting at the table. I sit at the table. I know exactly who also. Sit at the table, and it's that. And then also I had a bag with crystals inside it, and heat shrunk it, and obviously I went right through the heat shrink and stuff. And they go right through your heart and they hit. I was getting I went to go see Dr. Shajenko. I had like diagnosed me with Havana syndrome. But as the girl was putting these things on my head, I could hear, she's like, "Oh, I guess my stomach's growling." And it wasn't her stomach. There were hits going through me, through her. She didn't realize it because you could hear them. It's yeah, they just they're little jolts, but now they get louder and they're like, you'll hear them like on a cell phone. They'll knock your heart right out. There's times where I had to and then I go to sleep and there's I get 3, 4, 5, or 6 and stuff, and I just like had this.
Have you tried any any other type of shielding? I know you mentioned earlier that you do some grounding. So do you have
there's way too many of them. I tried all kinds. There's crystals work well and mirrors and stuff, and there's also like some stuff that you could play like function generator, but it's not, the music's not really anything. And I feel like at this point it's like I set out for a mission. I believe I have God on my side. I made a prayer that they suffer the same thing that I suffer. My prayers always come true, and so I'm not really worried about it.
Yeah, when you do harm on others, it'll find its way back.
The hardest part is like the family, like the family, because they really don't see it, or they really want to see it and stuff. And I get some heat for that, but it doesn't break me down in any way. Like I have a mission to expose.
Yes, it's like I understand what you mean by that, because I have a strong conviction. It doesn't matter if anybody believes me, and either my family or my friends, they either had to get be on the bus with me or be off the bus with me. But I knew I had a calling that God gave me to get this information out. And we, as being targeted, there is no reason for us to feel shame. We're the ones that have been
not at all. Not at all.
So we just have to stand in our truth.
I'm up for this challenge, and now like I had a bunch of videos analyzed, and I'm going to analyze a bunch of others. So I have like 10 others. But what I'm going to start doing is paying to extract that actual audio and get some actual audio on there, and that's going to be a lot more. I'm not going to say convincing, but at least find out exactly who these cowards are. And there's a bunch of them, and do what I have to.
Yeah. I mean, every signal, whether it be satellite, any kind of signal that is being that is crossing the airways is traceable, and it's just that for what we can do as a community is just pray that God turns the heart of more and more, because then by awareness, credible awareness by some of
that's exactly what it is. People understand, like, well, why do you keep doing it and stuff? Make it worse. Like, no, the only way you stop is you expose them. And also I think AI is getting better, where even though it could be used against you, but I believe there'll come a time where you'll turn around and I save all the videos, but I believe there'll come a time where you can turn around and AI will be able to see that laser stream or that that wherever directed energy, wherever it's coming from.
Yes, could we get to the point where you asked AI, can you trace the signal that is connecting to me at this very moment? Wouldn't that be helpful to us?
But they'll try to like Bluetooth. I'll try to like print, constantly like mess with me and stuff, and I'll just find a way. I have to move it around, or I'll have to like ground something. They try to like frustrate me. At this point, there's really nothing.
So have you had vandalism on your property? I know that you had mentioned.
Well, they're good for that. Like I'm going to say I give them that much, but no, you know what? They haven't messed with like my finances. They haven't, other than like blowing up some cameras, which, maybe some of the cheaper ones that they hit, but they haven't done anything financially. They haven't, messed up anything in my house. They, I think they're more, they're just strictly like, using technology and
Mm-hmm.
sophistication more so than although some of the gang stalkers, like I was driving once and you'll see them on the side of the road with their hazards on and stuff like that. And now no matter where I drive, there is a caravan of people. So I stopped to take a picture of one, and then he was like, he was sitting there, and the next thing you know, he throws a glass bottle out the window, hits my windshield and stuff. What are you gonna do? It's not like you're gonna sit there and go to the police and stuff. But so you get some that are just
Yeah.
you
The,
know yeah.
well, you had mentioned that you started recognizing patterns on the windshields, or the front and the back windshield of gang stalkers, where
Well,
it
like
was
on
maybe.
the what happens is it seems like from the front, and I have a couple of videos where you can clearly see like it'll whether it's hidden in their grill or something, but they'll shoot this particle with this, and this wire actually exists. Like the magicians use it because we can't even see it. But you go like on Google Earth and stuff like that, and you could see, or whether it's a dash cam video, you'll see a reflection along the side. If it hits something, and then it'll wrap around the car, so you'll see it. Whether it's your car, whether it's the person's car or the gang stalker's car, it's one thing, but you'll see just reflections. And obviously some of the stuff is just reflections, but you start seeing a pattern because they'll turn around and hit you. As you're driving away, you could see it. Or if I'm behind a car, you could barely see this stuff. You could see it looks like just like a long spider web in the back of their trunk. And then if I break the link, meaning I take my cell phone and I put it inside a box, then you'll see this little, like kind of like a dust particle just fly away. And my car loaded. I mean, I say this like I cause wind, and by that I mean like when if it can't link, it just keeps trying to link. So if I take
Can't connect.
I have
Yeah.
like 5 cell phones. If I take them and I put these 2 aluminum plates over and cover the sides, stuff will be flying this way, that way, this way. There's also a log splitter in the area, which I notice powers a lot of this stuff because it's in tune. I could sit there, and the way I take a phone, and whether it's cover it or uncover it, it follows a tune. It's this is their headquarters, and I ain't going nowhere. I'm just going to keep exposing these cowards.
I mean, that's all we can do is to keep the exposure going. Do you have any advice for our community and those that are, having similar attacks of, being hit in the heart and with the directed energy and the gang stalking? What do you find helps you through these moments?
I guess my belief in God is the first thing, my determination. And then also, I just found out, speaking to Amy, that there's 20 others in New Jersey. So I'm planning on getting with those 20 others and kind of getting a group and trying to get some evidence, save your videos and stuff, kind of get some, compare some stuff, and then I'm going to go and start filing, because I know how to start filing police reports and putting it on that police agency. Because you know what? Maybe tough to find an attorney or this and that, but when you start getting some actual evidence and start going to the police station and putting it on that police station, because look, it's a crime, so you have to take some sort of action. And here's proof that I have. It's forensic proof, so you have to do something. And then, what are you going to do? You pass it to the prosecutor's office, or pass it to this, pass it to that.
I think that there's such a great number of people in law enforcement that have no idea that this exists, or there's.
I had no idea, and I was a retired captain.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard for someone to digest it. The perfect psyop is to think.
I wish I was still working, because I tell you what, I'd be the best investigator in the country. I mean, just so much that I learned, and so much that the cameras will actually show. And sometimes it may not show it maybe not show by looking at it, but you could analyze these things and you could pick up different frequencies. And if something happened to somebody, or if there was a robbery, getting a video analyzed, picking up background communication, $50 for like an hour, and pick up a lot of valuable information. And I've gotten all my information that, at least satisfies me. This sheriff is targeted, and all stuff. Now I'm going to start analyzing more of these, because then a lot of times they'll say stuff like, oh, like in the one video, we just slashed her tires. And, if I can go back and get the date of that video, and compare and see who slashed her tires and stuff. But that's really looking for something like bigger than that. But I'm pretty sure I recognized a few of the voices and stuff. So I think I'm going to, clear up those voices, get some confirmation, and just keep doing what I'm doing. I'm retired.
It's amazing how even they can do a voice sampling on someone that to use in like for those who have the voice to skull, the auditory effect, like they can mimic. It's just like a parrot, it can mimic. And all it needs is, a few, like a minute sample, or maybe even less, to run that AI script through. There's just so many things that.
Yes, there is, and like I said, I'm retired. I have plenty of time, and I get some heat from like the family and stuff. But I'm determined. If I'm determined, I'm gonna just, gonna get through and make some.
Absolutely,
I'll definitely be in touch with some better stuff.
I noticed you had one video, like you had some strobe lights or something in a room, and you could see the breaking, like it was the directed energy interfering with the lights that were strobing.
Yeah, I mean, as a matter of fact, what I do now is I turn around and it's funny, I turn around and I bought the strobe light and I played it, and the second, like I said, I get hit so hard that, my wife's like, the garage door opens slowly. No, well, it's opening slowly for a reason. The force, because when you turn on the Ring camera, you don't hear anything. But if I turn around and take something like Cover My Heart, now it sounds like a windstorm. And it's those things where people are like, oh no, that's not true. Yes, it is true. At nighttime, look at some of my videos, it's like Christmas lights. It's all over. When I look through like spotting scopes, it's on all these trees with little particles, and it seems like these lasers are just spitting this area. But when it can't connect, it seems like it just, starts trying to connect.
Yes, and with it being that, Ring cameras and those that are the wireless ones.
I don't like those. I have Hikvision wired cameras, but I just yesterday, they're getting a lot harder with these hits. And just yesterday, they wiped out the hard drive, and then even outside, they hit these cameras so hard, and I ground the cameras, but they hit them so hard that I'll take a laser from the inside, and I can break their stream, but instantly it's like boom, and they hit it again and stuff. But just find different ways, and just keep at it.
I know when you're targeted, you have to be creative and find alternate.
I have some pretty good ways, and I have some other things also. I mean, some of the stuff I think is, I'm able to like laugh at it and stuff, and I know they're like pissed off because then they hit me with these jolts, and I'm like, you're trying to like kill me. I'm protecting myself, and they're like, you're the one that's pissed off, and I just toss them the bird, all day long, and, but I have some other pretty good stuff, but they really cover everything. I mean, like in those videos I analyzed, you'll hear them constantly also, okay, we're parsing the video and stuff. So they're able to delete these things. A lot of my videos get deleted. So luckily I have a lot of phones and a lot of cloud coverage, but even then, none of them are really clear because, they're constantly being hit.
Yeah, the weird sounds and signals that kind of come through like the Ring camera type devices, like you said, it's just bizarre sounds, and just video, getting a notification that something moved, and then you can't even connect to get to the video, and then
all my cameras they all have lasers on them, and when you get close to them also, like if you put something in front of it, you could like it'll break it. It'll break that link. And you could on the camera you could catch like a little something just kind of take off, but just constantly like hit right back on and stuff like that. So I know there's like covers that you can buy, but they're able to disable just about anything. But I just keep finding ways and stuff, and I think like I said, I have all the time in the world, and
Yeah.
I get it hard for it. Like I know if I play certain like this one frequency generator which they hate, I'll take it and I'll take my laptop and my cell phone, I'll put it in the freezer, and I'll play the ring cam with the mic on and stuff. And I have videos of that. I don't think I upload them, but like from inside, and then I'll have another phone just recording everything, and it sounds like someone's punching in that freezer just trying to get to it. But something like that, I'm gonna like what I'm doing now is I just sent her some videos to see if she could hear that sound in the background. I'm almost like I know a few houses that are able to like that are like hackers and stuff. I just want to make sure that if she can hear it in the background, obviously she's close enough, and before I punch somebody in the face, I want to at least make sure that it's the right house.
Yeah,
I would never stoop that low.
Right, because then that's part of that psyop of discrediting you and
no, not at all. It's
Well, I was going to look to our chat here and see if some had some questions. Here's one from Colleen. She talks about drones. I'm going to remove the one picture so I can get her message up. There we go. She says there are about 30, 40 drones hovering her home nightly. At 3 a.m., I take videos and photos. They are using directed energy weapons, which can be seen in a laser effect in her backyard also. And neighbor is a military man, and entire neighborhood is strange. And she's going to put up some Mylar up on her windows. There is no question that this is spiritual warfare. People don't want involvement because it's too dark and they feel they might become a target too. And she's 30 plus years being targeted for exposing the harmlessness of a pet. It looks like I cut it off in the pet medical something. So yeah, so she has that high drone activity too. I noticed that sometimes you hear weird, loud noises hovering around. And
I wish I had like I wish I had answers as far as like how to stop this and that. I guess if there's so many people that are targeted and they don't know, so if someone turns around and maybe like has a Faraday bag and puts your cell phone in it, or even just wearing like jewelry that like crystals and stuff that could deflect certain things. But if it's like me, where obviously I'm like a known target, and there's no question that I'm obviously definitely number one in this state where these gangsters.
Yeah, I found the crystals to be effective in the chest area as well. So,
but it feels like if you try to do something, then they get pissed off, and they'll just keep they'll keep at it, and they'll find a way and stuff. But I have I'm okay. I'm not I'm used to it now. Like I have metal in my neck, and I could feel like as it goes, wherever they hit me from freaking everywhere. And actually I could see how like people could actually get like, there's a lot of child trafficking and stuff, or like I could see how like somebody can get like sexually, abused or raped with like electronic stuff. It's amazing, but I could feel it like going through and then hitting the metal in my neck, because I have like metal in my neck or metal in my back, or like the metal in my back gets really hot. But like they're I mean, it's electric where it's,
it's that thermoelastic effect that heats up our tissue when they're connecting into us, for certain. It's just amazing what they can do with this. So we have 702 FISA survivor says that he hears what sounds like a pager vibrating in his couch many times. I've heard strange vibration noises in parts of my house, like the walls
Yeah.
popping. So if I'm going from one room to another, and it takes it a little bit, but then here goes the pops into the room where I'm going. So they're connecting in, signaling in where whatever room that I'm in. Do you
Well, I
experience
know, like,
that too?
well, there's this one house. There's different stuff. Like this one person here constantly, like he's linked like 24/7. Unless I leave. If I leave, it's by him. But I also seen drones flying off his property. But like certain areas, obviously like he's hitting me. So there's ductwork in the ceiling. So when I go through certain doors, it's going to go through and hit the ductwork. When I'm sitting on the couch, what it is it's like they slowly build up energy. So like rather than, because it's got to get stronger. I think like as more of these things connect, it gets stronger. But it's like they're able to turn around and just kind of hit, and it'll get to, like, for instance, I had a screen behind the couch and stuff, and tapped the screen and it seemed like it was going to explode, or the same thing with the couch. Like if I turn around and the couch starts getting harder because it's kind of filling up with this energy, and I'm able to slam it. But again, it's able to like get to my heart and like just like a pop, as it comes out, like just keep me at the edge and stuff. I'm used to that now and stuff like that. So it doesn't, and I'm used to it enough. It's like it's normal.
I've noticed a pattern like in my bathroom, because they love to mess with me in my bathroom. My husband has a separate bathroom than me, and I can see the pulses in the light flip. I mean, just it's very quick, and it's like routine. It's like a pattern. So it's going to be a quick burst, boom, 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 and a pause, and then here it comes again. It's crazy, and the amplification of being in that area. Of course, they want to. These people behind this are just lewd and they're sick, and I think they love to focus in on bathroom areas.
If you take, like, I take my cell phone and I videotape like the computer screen, you'll see like different circles, like the little circles. Sometimes like if you're trying to video a TV, you'll see it like come up like on different areas and stuff, and it's or like if I'm videotaping the house and the sun hits it, you could see those hits, the vibrations.
It's just amazing.
Yep, there's just so many things. People just they think a lot of stuff's normal or whatever, but I think Google Earth holds so much information. If people look up their house, look up their street, the Google Earth view, and you'll see areas of like heat and tunnels and, and this stuff.
We have a comment up on the screen to tell you about Mike Adams, who is Health Ranger on X. I know he's on X, Health Ranger.
That's good to know, because I couldn't find anybody.
Yeah, he has a lab, and he has done forensics on the chemtrails fallout in Florida and how it started growing this parasite or some living organism from that fog, from the fog.
I take my shirts and I put them in the freezer. Like the second I go outside, I take a hat. Like the second I go outside, I come in, and they're getting bigger also. Like now that they get bigger, where if I turn around and I put it into the microscope, and it's a cheap one, I'll see like 3 separate areas of like these loops. But I'll take it in the freezer.
It's almost like you're a magnet to it.
Yes. Well, also, I kind of get shot instantly, and there's always drone. But also, I noticed that if it gets wet, like I turn around, I put a drop of water on one in the microscope, I couldn't even get it off the glass. So it seems like water, I believe, you just get hit with these tiny little things, and they're inside of you. I mean, you're breathing them and stuff like that. And I think,
well, like with nano dust or the DARPA dust, it connects in. What's our biggest organ? Our skin is, and it could be it's just how they get to us. One of the many ways of how they get
Yes.
to us. Let's see, 702 Pfizer survivor says that they connected something to his gas pedal, and the seat in his car. Driving 10 miles down the freeway was so painful to him that he had to start wearing electrical rubber boots to drive his car because he was getting hit so hard. So definitely something is connecting to them.
Yeah,
I
you
know.
know what?
Mm-hmm.
Early on, I thought like I'd look at my car because it make like these different noises, and I would tear like my car apart, thinking it's something, not realizing it was like different like directed energy and stuff. So many times I kind of I guess I came to the wrong conclusion, thinking it was something in the car, that they actually physically came and did something where they could do many things without even touching your car.
Yeah, I mean, no matter where you're going, it just it's going to connect to you. Let's see if we got another question here. I think that's good. Is there any other advice that, or any shielding that you find effective for you that might be helpful to someone in the community?
Like with the laser hits and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I'd say quartz or like crystals, stuff like that. It helps quite a bit because unlike a mirror that's straight, and unless it hits at an angle and it kind of deflects, if it's straight, it'll eventually kind of make its way through. Um, but with like crystals, it's broken up and it'll just deflect in different areas. With the acoustics, I don't know. I believe those, when they were originally hitting me with like the acoustic stuff, that sound just vibrates right through you. So earphones or anything doesn't help.
Yes, I mean, I've tried the noise canceling ones that didn't require a connection, with the Bluetooth.
There's
Uh,
an app. It's a frequency generator. I think it's like 6.3. I don't know if I told you about it, but when I play that, it stops the electrical connections. The only thing is, how long could you listen to it? It's like a low pitch. I'll play it and I'll throw my phone in the freezer just so they could listen to it. Not worry about my phone freeze. Like I was saying before, I play that thing on my laptop and phone. I put it in the freezer, and I know they're listening to it and stuff. And it breaks the electrical connections, so they can't connect to like the outlets or whatever in the house. But
and what frequency generator is that? Is
it's
it an app for download?
yes, I could text it to you, but because there's a few different things like adjustments you have to make, but it's incredible. The first day that I played it, Amy Holm told me about this, and she's on like Rumble, I think, and there was a video on it to make some adjustments. And when I first played it in my house, when I put the Ring camera on at night and I hit the lights, it's like wind tunnels. These all look like flies just flying all over the place. First time I played it and I watched the Ring cam, nothing. Just one long. It was like a spider web. Obviously, it was that just got caught up in the Ring cam, and it just kind of like dangling. And it was good, nice little satisfaction, but it's like a high pitched sound that you really don't want to hear. But you can put it on low, and if you're not getting attacked too bad, it should help quite a bit.
Yeah, frequencies, because we're having frequencies, hit us. So it makes sense to counter frequency with frequency to disrupt it. If we could find a way to, if we have our own, let's just say our own brain frequency, DNA frequency,
Yeah.
if we can mimic a different frequency, then they can't connect
Yes.
to us. Or if we can, change or manipulate the frequency, then the connection is broken. So that definitely makes sense.
I believe it's
Sure.
called. I believe if you Google visual analyzer, it's like the first one that comes up. I think it's like it'll say like there's like a 64-bit and a 32-bit version.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few settings that you have to change. But you don't even have to, and it has like DC negative, DC positive sign. It gives you different ones and you can play with all of them. But I realized that the DC positive works great for me. I actually have it playing. This is like a room where I just keep all, I guess, the equipment for, for to fight the cowards. But I have like this mirrored box, and I have a couple phones in there, and I play that. So I know, hey, look, you want to listen in and listen to this,
Right. Yeah, I play things too, just to, because I know that bothers them for sure. Oh, well, this has been a really great discussion, and I really encourage the community to check out Enzo's LinkedIn page. He had, like he says, he's got tons and tons of videos, and I some of them I wasn't able to download. I think they have to be shared, but if they're on your Google, you can play them. I just couldn't download them so I could upload them for the show today. But I do encourage people to check out. And you are on X as well.
I don't post too much. I don't have any I don't try to get like followers or anything. I went on LinkedIn because there's like mostly there's a lot of law enforcement communities and stuff. I don't really post it on Facebook. I don't have like a YouTube page. I was thinking about it, but I don't want to make it seem like I'm just trying to get followers. To me, it's like a purpose just to expose.
Yeah, you just want to get the information out there and spread.
I'll be in touch, and I'll have some better equipment and some much better information.
Well, again, I really appreciate you joining me today. This has been it's been very knowledgeable about the wires, and I think people will be on the lookout to see if they see some strange. And you've got some photos and other of the wires, and it's just
you can actually see it. Yeah, I mean, I have like videos of it, like under a microscope, but like you'll see it on the car, you'll just think it's like a spider web. Obviously, there's plenty of spider webs out there, but this stuff is loaded on if you live in this country.
It's very covert. I mean, these
you'll never even see it. Like you couldn't see it in front of you, unless it like hits unless there's like a reflection, something. It could be dangling a couple feet in front of you. Magicians use it. They call it magic, like magicians, magic wire or invisible wire.
Yes, and I remember there was, and you said that you keep your shirts and stuff in the freezer, but then you had all of these
just to like white, so I could.
You had all these particles.
They're all covered. Yeah.
You had went to the gas station or something and came back.
Oh yeah, and there's I'll tell you, I got
a ton of them. There's a picture out on the LinkedIn with all of that on the shirt. Yes.
And they just keep swinging by, and like I said, they're all cowards in my book. And
they are. All of them that are participating in something like this, they are definitely cowards. But again, I thank you so much. And I pray for your protection. And thank you so much for, being brave and bold to share your story here today, and all that you do to spread the awareness of the crimes, the directed energy that has happened to you, and the hits that you take. And again, thank you, and God bless.
No problem. My pleasure. We'll be in touch.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Have a blessed rest of your day.